Heading into the weekend, you always need that competitive advantage. And today, we got 10 players that you need to add to your team, including Sean Murphy, Byron Buxton, and Merrill Kelly, including a lot more on today's action-packed episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, we're your number one source of fantasy baseball knowledge, and thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. I'm your host, Dominic Martino, and you can find me on Twitter at DomMartinoFB. Here, as always, and back in action, my brother, my co-host, my partner in crime, Matthew Aranda, and you can find him on Twitter at Matthew_Aranda. If you're watching on YouTube and you haven't already, hit that little bell below. It's going to subscribe you to the channel and give you notification every time we drop a new episode. Or if you're listening on the audio side of things on a platform like Apple or Spotify that allows 5-star ratings and reviews, we would truly appreciate it if you could do that for us as well. But guys, listen, what's truly most important to you guys and Matt and I, any time of year, to be honest with you, is giving us a chance on the Subtext platform, right? We're going to be that secret weapon that's right in your pocket, getting you those text message notifications super quick when it comes to prospect hold-up alerts like Roman Anthony, Andrew Painter, Nick Kurtz, so many more that are on the way. You're going to get those messages quicker than anywhere else in the industry. And guess what? You got direct access to Matt and I to answer any of the questions you need answered in regards to your fantasy team, whether it's who you need to pick up off the waiver wire, a trade you're making, or anything like that. So give us a chance on the Subtext platform where the link is in our bio wherever you're listening, watching, and it's available on any of our social media platforms. And today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. And all right, Matt, good episode here. Got a lot of great names. And this one up first, super interesting. I still can't understand why he's not more widely rostered. Matt, my brother, take it away.
First off, I want to thank you for covering me for literally like a week and a half.
Of course, we're glad to have you back. We missed you around these parts, man. It gets a little, I want to say less interesting when you're around. I feel like you bring the gusto that we need around here.
I appreciate it. I'm just glad to be back.
Of course,
man. Let's do this thing. So let's talk about my boy Sean Murphy of the Atlanta Braves. Somebody Dom and I don't think didn't talk about this offseason once, because at least once a week he was getting talked about on the Mock Draft Monday episode, because we just knew, hey, look, you get your value at the end of the draft with a catcher instead of at the top of the draft. Like what's going on with Wilson Contreras, the other Contreras, Salvador Perez, Diaz, like the list goes on of all the underperforming catchers early, right? So Sean Murphy right out the gate, hitting it where it hurts for the guys that just paid these high ADPs for and lost out on other value going on in the draft. And look, and in the draft, we can figure this out. Even if he doesn't, even if his performance dies today, you still got your values worth, and you're still going to find better, going forward. So ultimately picking him up was great. And to start off the season, he's been incredible. The fact he's 44% owned just blows my mind. Dude, so far this year, he has 26 at-bats, 5 runs, 4 bombs, 8 ribs, 2 walks, which isn't so hot, to 11 strikeouts, batting .231. That part I'm not really thrilled about, but who cares? OBP 333, slug sitting at 692. OPS is a 102. Like, how you doing, bro? Like, the dude may not be hitting for average, but who cares? All the other stuff is showing up, especially at your catcher position. Like, yes, please. XwOB is sitting at 391. His average exit velocity is 90 miles an hour. He's barreling 26.7% of the time, creating hard contact nearly 50% of the time at 46.7% of the time. She's not really chasing. The crazy part is he really isn't whiffing either, even though they're saying, hey, it's 11 strikeouts, but he's really killing it. He's doing a good job at the plate. He's just striking out when he does whiff. Now, all signs point to this is sustainable. I think, we may not see the pace as much, but I think 25 to 30 home run finish is definitely in the world of possibilities. I think the batting average is pretty much on par. If he hits 240, I won't be surprised. If he hits 226, I also won't be surprised. But the runs and riz with that team, Olsen looks like he's about to get going. Riley might start getting going. And
Riley's been getting going, man.
Yeah. And then Acuna's around the corner. So there's a lot of upside for Murphy as a whole. So you need to add him now if he's out there, especially if you're holding on to a struggling William Contreras or Wilson Contreras or any catcher that you drafted in the top 150. This is a guy that can be a nice holdover and wait for those guys to get going. And quite honestly, too, he's going to end up starting for you. So if you want to, wait till the other guys get hot and hang on to Sean Murphy, then you sell when they're back at their value and you get a nice ROP, return on investment there, and essentially trade high on them and keep Sean Murphy because you'll get way more for that name. So Sean Murphy, I think, might be an all season long play.
Yeah, Matt, love me some Sean Murphy too. 44% owned on Yahoo. He's been moved up to 4th in the lineup recently. Last 3 games hitting cleanup, and that Braves lineup is awesome. He's going to give you 20 plus homers, a lot of RBIs. Matt, you nailed it with the batting average, 240, 250. This is the higher end of things for Murphy. So I like it. Matt, you broke him down really well, so I'm not going to add much else here. So let's move on to our next guy. Let's talk about Brooks Lee. Finally getting a chance to play this year, right? Correa's hurt. We're not super sure. We know what's going on with him, when he's going to be back. And Brooks Lee's out there shining. For 4 games so far, actually 3 games. Had a pinch hit game there, in there. 286 batting average, homer, a couple RBIs. It looks solid. Looks solid so far. High-end prospect, has the pedigree, has got some speeds, got some pop. 2nd, 3rd, and short on Yahoo. Love that for Brooks Lee. Guess what? Only 4% owned as we're recording this. Once again, recording this on Wednesday, the 16th of April, 8:51 p.m. This might shoot up, to over, 10, 15% by the time you guys are listening to this. But love me some Brooks Lee. We could break it down a little bit even further here. We'll talk a little bit more about the prospect pedigree that he brings to the table. It's really been injuries, over the past couple of seasons with Lee. Hasn't really gotten the full chance to shine, since he's gotten the call. We'll even break down last year, too. He had 50 games played, 172 at-bats, 9 runs, 6 doubles, triple, 3 homers, 27 RBIs, 3 steals, hit 221. And he's only 24 years old. I think he could still break out. I think there's, an opportunity for him to shine here. And he has to grab it by the horns, right? Because, Correa has that IL. He might not be out for too long, but with Correa, you never know. And it might not be, like a super long thing. But we'll talk about Lee in the minors. Had a couple of good seasons. We'll look back at that 2023 season for Lee down in the minors. He had 16 homers, 7 steals, 275 batting average with 84 RBIs, 83 runs. Like I said, a little bit of speed, a little bit of pop. Could be an interesting play. Like I said, love the eligibility on Yahoo. 2nd, 3rd, and short, 4% owned Brooks Lee. A sneaky little snag there. Not for every league. We're doing this more in deeper leagues. But definitely could be interesting for sure.
Sure. I mean, out the gate, he's performing, so why not take a shot on a guy with a prospect pedigree? Makes complete sense, especially with the positional eligibility. If you lost Matt Shaw, for instance, with your flex in terms of where to slot a guy in, Brooks Lee's got the same amount. So, why wouldn't we add him for that alone and see where the story takes us? I liked what he did last year when he got called up. I like what he did in the minors, everything Dom said. And, I 100% support it. So let's move on. Let's talk about Jonathan Aranda. Aranda, sorry. Aranda. I was thinking more like an Ariana Grande, I guess. But Aranda is actually, pretty solid himself, playing for those Tampa Bay Rays, 27 years old this year. I don't know how much I'm really buying into the start, but I am willing to ride the wave. The guy has some prospect pedigree. Like, you look at what he's done in the minors, 25 home runs in 23, 18 in 24. And that was with like 403 at bats and with the 18 home runs. And then the year after 23, 25 in 357. But, never really translated anytime he gets a shot in the bigs. Now, it could just be because he's getting, raid. Who knows? But at the same time, I'm just like, if he would have shown it when he was in the bigs, he would have got more playing time. So I don't know if he's really going to translate. But I'll take the start. The start is hot, right? So far, 46 at-bats, 10 runs, 7 doubles, 3 bombs, 11 ribs, batting .413, 6 walks to 10 strikeouts, a 42 OBP, a slug of 761, and an OPS of 1.242. Like, looking really good in those aspects. Like, I'm all about it. You look at his baseball savant page, and straight up, like, it's just all red. Everything is a 99th percentile except for launch angle, which is a 93%. Kid's looking real good. I don't know how long this sticks. I don't know if I would truly believe in it, but I am going to ride that wave with him. Dom may feel differently, and you're going to have to wait to find out that on the other side of this break. But I'm going to tell you right now that I think that my guys is a great ride, the wave candidate, and may not be a long play, but you'll find out how Dom feels coming up after this.
Guys, did you know that your Fire TV is also an Xbox? Turn any TV into your gaming entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices, right? There's no console required at all. Just grab your paired controller, subscribe, or sign into Xbox Game Pass with EA Play included. And you're ready to play, right? Dive into hundreds of premium titles from EA Sports, College Football 25 to Call of Duty Black Ops 6, and even Avowed, right? As easily as you stream your favorite TV shows, it's gaming made simple, and it's all on Fire TV. The latest technology for elevated playing with Wi-Fi 6/6E and auto low latency mode advanced technology, right? That's incredible. Fire TV Stick 4K delivers smoother, more responsive gameplay with lightning fast speeds you need to stay competitive, right? And everyone's playing all these games, first person shooters and all that stuff. Man, you need that speed, right? That's what we all need. Endless entertainment with 4K streaming. You can watch more than 1.5 million movies and TV episodes from your favorite subscribed services like Netflix, Prime Video, Disney Plus, Max, and more. Head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K second gen, Fire TV Stick 4K Max first and second gen, and Fire TV Cube third gen. And once again, guys, this is all Fire TV here. You got to get on that today. And all right, guys, one more for you here, and of course, there's nothing better than catching an MLB game live, right? The crack of the bat, the roar of the crowd, and the smell of the popcorn, right? And if you're looking to go last minute, Game Time makes getting tickets easier than ever. With last-minute deals, all-in pricing, and a lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the stress out of buying MLB tickets. Plus, ticket prices drop as the game gets closer, meaning you can score an incredible deal. When you want to just go on a spontaneous game night, me personally, I recently grabbed some last-minute tickets with the girlfriend, went over to see those Yankees, and, Game Time had the, unbeatable prices, which meant more money for food and merch. With Game Time's pick feature, this makes finding the best deals effortless. It filters out the fluff and highlights the top discounts in the stadium. And, personally, one of my favorite things about Game Time is the seat view before you buy. As I was saying, I love that I can preview my exact seat before purchasing. No bad surprises when I get to the stadium. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. And all right, Matt, as badly as I do want to pass this back to you, I do want to talk some Jonathan Aranda, even badly a little bit more, right? So interesting name. Matt mentioned the prospect pedigree, and that's what it's all about. This kid was supposed to be, one of the next big things, never really panned out, had a couple of big seasons down in the minors. I know Matt was talking about that 2023 season where Aranda hit 25 homers, hit 339 over 95 games and 357 at-bats. The batting average is real. He's got a little bit of pop. The Rays are just always weird with their prospects, right? I feel like it's the prospects that they trade for that always work out, and it's never really the homegrown ones, at least not in recent years anyway. So I like Aranda. Would love to see where it goes. Matt, like you said, kind of just juice the orange here. Aranda's owned in 42% of Yahoo leagues. First and second eligibility, another kind of Matt Shaw replacement almost, if you lost out on him when he got sent back down to the minors. And then even, anything else dealing with injury, underperforming players. I always like to be flexible with my rosters, especially where I have, a couple of bench spots. And Aranda could be one of those guys, Swiss Army knife off your bench, right? So go out, give him a chance now, and don't be afraid to drop him if in 2 weeks he just, is totally underperforming. Let's move on to this next guy, though. Let's talk about some Byron Buxton, man. Matt, we always love talking about Byron Buxton here. He's got his own wing in the Locked On Fantasy Baseball baseball hospital, right? He's right next to Alberto Mondesi, if I remember correctly. So Buxton actually looking somewhat decent. He's doing his weird Byron Buxton thing where he's kind of putting up stats, but he's still only hitting 200. But, I'm telling you, he's hitting 200. If you had to guess the rest of his stats, I guarantee you couldn't if you didn't know. 14 runs, 3 homers, 7 RBIs, and 4 steals. Imagine he was hitting 250. If this guy was hitting 250, he'd be, one of the best players in all the game. But that's the thing with Byron Buxton, right? He's just all over the place. Been hot of late in his last 4 games. 3 of those are 2-hit games. Has a homer, has 4 runs, 2 RBIs, and a steal over that time. He's been moved up to second in the lineup, 40% rostered. The thing has always been with Byron Buxton throughout his whole career, ride the wave. While he's hot, pick him up, have him in your roster. I don't think he'll really do much harm. He's going to hit home runs. He's going to steal bases. He's going to have some big games. And then, you know what? I'll say this. If he gets hot enough, you could probably trade him, throw him into a trade with the name value. But other than that, he's going to get either hurt or just, absolutely underperform at some point. Definitely a juice the orange situation. 5 outfielder leagues. If he's out there, I'm definitely grabbing him. 40% on Yahoo. So might be out there in a couple of 5 outfielder leagues. But, I think the book's pretty much been written on Byron Buxton. I don't really foresee him having an all-star type season. I don't think he'll play enough games to get there.
Yeah, I mean, the only way he makes the all-star team is he manages to stay healthy right up until the all-star break. Then he'll probably get hurt during the all-star game, and then, he's gone for the rest of the season. So, Byron Buxton, that's just how right there.
So Byron Buxton, he would get hurt during the all-star game.
He would. You think kid's got like 30 home runs in the first half of the season. Yeah. Oh, done. But anyway, Byron Buxton straight up, look, he is just, well said, Dom. He is a ride the wave kind of guy, and then you just kind of move on. Like, every time we talk about this kid, he's never a permanent solution. Those days, those dreams are done. It's like, okay, cool. I'm going to go buy a lottery ticket and win the lottery, and then dream about how I'm going to spend the money. And then I wake up and nope, he's hurt. Nope, I lost the ticket. I wasted $10, whatever. That's Byron Buxton for you. But let's move on. Let's talk about Tyler Fitzgerald of the San Francisco Giants. My guy is about 28% owned and has second, short, and outfield eligibility. Quite honestly, look, he's a little bit of a slow start for the season, but I called him one of the sleepers for a reason this year. I like him. I think what he did last year was pretty much on pace. Was a pretty good pace, about 27 home run pace. Almost 30 stolen bases. He batted 280. I don't think that was sustainable. I'm thinking that was more like a 250, 260 kind of type deal. If everything's said and done, if he would have doubled everything, and kind of looked at his performance, things like that. I think the kid is actually good. He just plays in a terrible park to hit in. He's still only 27 years old this year, 26-year-old breakout last year. Started off the season slow, but this past week, 3 runs, a bomb, 4 ribs, 1 stolen base, batting .444. He's got decent stuff. I mean, the underlying stats aren't really, looking too hot, but honestly, it's because he started off so atrocious that now he's starting to kick it into gear. They think everything's going to come full circle on this, and we're going to start seeing things turn red from blue. So I wouldn't really highlight that for this right now. I would just look at his last week and kind of go from there. Let's hope we can build. Now, look, if he falls on his face tomorrow, I also won't be upset. I drop him like he's hot. But right now, he is a guy I'm targeting because I do think he does have somewhat of long-term availability. So I think Tyler Fitzgerald does need to be added at 28% owned. Again, we just lost Shaw. Another guy that has great, positional eligibility where you're going to be able to put him in places and fill the holes, especially on those off days. And I have a feeling he's going to end up being an everyday player for you. Really, that's just where I'm at with him.
Yeah, man, I'm kind of on the same page here with Fitzgerald. You're talking about the last few games. We could even do the last 6 games. Fitzgerald has 10 hits over that time, 4 runs, a homer, 4 RBIs, a steal. He can get the job done. It might only be in short spurts, because like you said, he started off cold, got hot. Might see a little bit of that off and on, but I think the end of the season numbers might be a little bit better than we are expecting here with Fitzgerald. It's crazy, 28% owned with the second and short and outfield eligibility, which is awesome on Yahoo, right? I'd say, like you said, Matt, if you need middle infield, if you need the outfield, 5 outfielder league, I think Fitzgerald is going to be useful for now. Definitely go out there and give him a shot. But before we move into the pitching portion of this episode and talk about names like Merrill Kelly, Andrew Heaney, and more, those names and more coming up next.
Basketball and hockey playoffs are heating up, and there's no better time to get into sports. No better way to turn your sports knowledge into real rewards with Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. With Prize Picks, you simply pick more or less than at least 2 player stat projections, and you're in. You can even combine players across sports like basketball, hockey, baseball, and more for your chance to win up to 2,000 times your cash. Luka Doncic for me, for more than 28 points, and Jason Tatum for more than 8 rebounds all day. I'll take that. It's how easy that is, and it's a great lineup. And just for stat projections, you can submit that lineup in just 60 seconds. Prize Picks has even run cool promos like Taco Tuesdays, where they discount players' projections up to 25%. For even more value, the payouts are fast, safe, and secure. Download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONMLB and get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. That code is LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Honestly, look, I love Prize Picks. I played it all last year since they became a sponsor, and now I'm kind of hooked, so I can't stop playing. Trust me, it's a good time. Take advantage of their offer. Prize Picks, run your game. And all right, so Mr. Dom, you want to start us off here?
Yeah, brother. Let's move into the pitchers, right? And let's talk about a name who's intriguing. And sometimes it's bad. Sometimes it's in a bad way. Sometimes it's in a good way. Let's talk Merrill Kelly. He's off to a weird start. You look at the numbers and you see the 5.7 ERA, the 1.33 WHIP, and you're like, he's been absolutely atrocious. Really, just one bad game against the Yankees at the beginning of the season. The Yankees, have been crushing everybody pretty much. So I'm going to throw that out the picture, and you just look at the 3 other games, right? His first start of the season against the Cubs, another really good team, 5.1 innings, got the win. Only 1 strikeout, gave up 1 run. The WHIP was a little bit, Baltimore, is who Merrill Kelly faced on April 8th, 6 innings, got the win, 4 strikeouts, gave up a few runs. The WHIP was clean. And then even against Miami, not a great team, but 6 innings, 9 strikeouts. Love to see that from Kelly. 1 earned run, another good WHIP game. I think he's a decent ad. Who's his next opponent again? I think it was somebody